We have another episode of the Best Words podcast. Today we're actually going to be reviewing two movies, Warcraft and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. I do have to give y'all a fair warning. Unfortunately, there's some background noises that I wasn't able to cut out. It's a little loud, but I hope you will forgive us, and I hope that you enjoy the show.
Alright guys, welcome back. This is our, I don't know what
I don't
number
know.
we're on.
Numbers don't matter.
Nope, never.
Numbers are just a value.
But we got a double feature for you today.
We're going to be talking about Warcraft and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Out of the Shadows.
There was no two. You just said numbers don't matter.
Whatever.
Anyway, yeah, we're going to do both of them. You've been here before, you know how we're going to do it. We're going to change it up a little just because we're doing two movies, but general, good, bad, in between. Full disclosure, next to no experience with Warcraft. So anybody listening that has never, ever, ever played any of the games or doesn't know anything about it, I will be representing you. Yay.
Sorry.
But, alright, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and go.
So let's start out with the good for Warcraft.
I was surprised by how well it kept to the lore.
It did actually do a relatively good job about it.
Yeah.
They didn't change a whole lot, like Garona and what was his face? Lothar?
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't ever happen.
Yeah,
Because it was supposed to be Garona and Khadgar.
Mhm.
And they have a kid, and then he's
It could
like
s-
crazy shaman wizard.
It could still happen.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah, I mean technically.
From someone who hasn't seen or played any of the old stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was, talk about the lore. They did a good job of kind of introducing a lot of things.
They threw a whole lot at you really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
really
they
did.
it was nice to see all of the stuff. They definitely didn't spend enough time in each of the places.
Yeah.
Like, even the beginning when they had the, in the factory place. I don't remember what it's called.
Ironforge?
Yeah, that place. I mean, they were only there. They were there just to kind of like
The
show you
factory
it was
place.
there.
Yeah.
And here's a gun, and that was it. They did that a lot of places. They bounced around a lot. So again, if you hadn't seen it before, you definitely do feel kind of
Left out.
Left out, yeah. There are a lot of references.
I was really glad that they focused almost exclusively on the orc story because I always thought the orcs had a more interesting lore than the humans anyway.
They still didn't. I still feel like they didn't represent the orcs that well because it still made them. It still seemed more like we were too sympathetic to the humans.
Yeah. Well,
However,
I think the big problem with that is because they started a little too late in the orc story. I think it would have worked out a little bit better if they had focused on earlier Frostwolf clan
them
days.
destroying the.
Because Duratan
planet.
and Orgrim are really interesting characters, and they don't really get into them as well as they could have.
Yeah, they pick up right at the start of the movie. The Orc homeworld is like pretty much gone. There's no resources, right?
Yeah.
And the whole point of them getting to the human world realm, whatever, is to find a new place to colonize and
Time
survive
to
off of.
conquer Earth!
Yeah, well, they pulled a Rita Repulsa.
So I think something that we can all agree on is that the majority of time the special effects were, especially for the orcs. Were
Oh, yeah.
like,
No, the
Yeah,
visuals,
the orcs look
amazing.
the
great.
visuals were really good.
The orcs looked exactly like they do in the cinematics for the Blizzard movies.
And you've said it before. Any time we play a Blizzard game, they just do amazing graphics.
Yeah, their cinematics are on point, like always.
But when I think about it now, it's almost like the cinematics were too good. Like, the couple places I noticed it seemed kind of weird, and this is not a bad thing, but the humans seemed kind of out of place in a lot of the CG.
Yeah.
Like there were some
Yeah.
scenes where I was like, it looks weird, and it wasn't the CG. Like, the CG wasn't bad. The humans just didn't fit
I think
really well with it.
I think part of that is if you look at it from a production standpoint, a lot of the sets feel like they were really enclosed.
Yeah.
They didn't feel open.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the problem is why they felt kind of off, is
Fair
because
enough.
it's just these small locations in every shot
Fair
for
enough.
them.
But all of it, the effects for the orcs, the forest, the environment, the magic was
Yeah,
really well
the
done.
effects were really on
If
point.
you're a visual guy or girl or moviegoer or whatever,
Human being.
yes,
Or dog.
it really does a good job of portraying just a very good visual. Whether it's something really powerful, like it makes you see, it looks like it, or something really subtle. It does a really good job at that.
A good point for me was really the fact that all of the critics that I had read up to that point were pretty much wrong. Like, the movie's not amazing, but it's not nearly as terrible as people made it out to be.
No, I didn't think so.
I think it was getting a lot of unfair criticism for no reason.
Sounds-
And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that the people reviewing it aren't familiar with Warcraft.
Well, if you look at it from a movie standpoint, it's really poorly done.
It does have some weird jump cuts and stuff like that.
It's,
But
It could have
Staying
been
on-
done better. It's not like, as it stands, it's still the highest grossing video game movie of all time.
it could be it could be literally 2 movies. It
Yeah.
should have been 2 movies.
but
That's a common problem with a lot of movies, though. Like, it's not even just limited to just Warcraft. That's
Yeah.
like Ender's Game could have easily been 2
2
movies,
movies,
and it would have
yeah.
been better as 2 movies.
I so accept that. But were the character, like for you guys, were the character representations done well? Like for all the main people that they had?
I would say for the orcs, yes, for the most part. The human characters I really don't know, like Sir Lane, I don't know that well.
Mhm.
I
The
think
king or
The biggest issue with it was they didn't establish the human characters as well. But for the most part, I was okay with it. My biggest problem with the human characters was Khadgar, just because he was like super rookie
Which one was he?
wizard.
the
Oh, the
mage.
wizard. Okay, cool.
apprentice wizard.
But
Yeah.
he's not really like he's never really been represented like that in the lore,
Yeah.
which is why I had a problem with it.
Gotcha. But
But-
for the most part, that all the characters were done at least
For
better
the
than
most
average,
part,
Garona,
above average.
Garona actually looked like Garona.
yeah,
That's good.
Garona was pretty on point.
I was surprised.
Medivh was there. He did stuff, kind of.
No, he did a lot of things actually.
And I guess, like you said, the lore was done really well. Did they do a good job of recreating the story that had been set up for? Because this is a prequel to Warcraft, the
This-
game, right?
No. This
No.
is the first game.
This is the first
Right.
game.
First,
And-
first and second game.
Yeah,
I
it's
should-
like
we should
because it
clarify.
bridges Warcraft and then it goes into the dark.
but we should
world.
clarify for the
Or
listeners.
Tides of Darkness, I guess, was what it was.
We should clarify for the listeners. There's Warcraft, and then there's World of Warcraft, which
Right.
are different.
Warcraft
Same
was a
worlds.
real-time strategy series that ran 3 games, and then World of Warcraft picked up after Warcraft 3.
Yes. So this is before World of Warcraft, which is probably the more popular game. But
Right.
Yeah, more well known.
Like the locations you'd know if you played World of Warcraft, but most of the characters aren't really relevant to the current World of Warcraft lore.
Because they're dead.
Yeah, they're all dead.
Yeah.
Except, well, yeah, Gul'dan's dead. He died in Burning Crusade.
Well, Gul'dan is actually back.
Is he? Is he
Because of
back for
Draenor.
Legion?
It's Draenor.
Oh, right.
The whole timeline got shifted a little bit, but anyway, that's different.
I guess I personally like, and again, this is just from a movie standpoint. The sound effects are really good, and just overall, the sound was good. The music was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, music
Was the music from the game at all,
No.
or was it
There was
probably original score?
it was like a splash of
Yeah.
music.
Some
but
of it
not-
was kind of intermingled in.
Gotcha. It was done well, and then like sound design, like I said, when the fights were done with the orcs, especially,
Really?
it felt really good. Like the sound effects and just the overall environment.
like that whole first scene where they're in the forest
Yeah.
and that fight scene happens. That was really
Yeah.
good.
Like the punches feel like they have weight behind them.
Yeah.
They complemented the animation very well.
Yeah.
It was a good jumping in point for them to start with the first movie, because it's the only way to really introduce the conflict between the orcs and humans and bring in the rest of the races without using like 2 or 3 movies to set that whole thing up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it didn't take a lot of time explaining it.
Hopefully, if they do bring in any of the other races, they fix those elves, because Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
their ears looked bad.
They felt
Well-
really out of
Well,
really
is,
weird.
is that all we have for good? I don't want to. I mean, we've kind of dabbled in the not as good. I just want to make sure.
I'm trying to think if there was anything like
I mean, the fight scenes.
stellar. The fight scenes were really well done.
Oh, I liked anybody who actually has played Warcraft games or any RTS games will appreciate the top-down view of seeing where the battles were happening.
There were a lot of Easter eggs and throwbacks.
Uh,
And as a person who never played the games, you can kind of tell when they made a reference. You're like, that's probably something that anyone else would have gotten.
The humans would have done a much better job if they had just built more Griffin riders.
Yeah. But yeah, they did an RTS throwback. If you're used to that top down, like Sam was saying, open environment, not super
Yes.
detailed, but
It was a
it's
nice game.
cool.
Yeah.
Any particularly cool Easter
Murloc.
eggs
There was a
that-
Murloc in it.
you guys cared about?
And there was a knoll. You could hear a knoll in the background in one of the
Oh,
forest areas.
at the very beginning.
You
yeah.
couldn't see it, but you could hear it.
The locations are actually a huge Easter egg
Okay.
because like it's like there's a famous inn in the game, and it's pretty much the same inn.
Okay, that's good.
Goldshire?
Yeah.
The one where he was drunk afterwards.
Yeah.
Um,
They didn't really. I really wish that. I hope they get more into the dwarves in the next one because there are a lot of really interesting dwarf things that happen.
Yeah,
in
there really are.
Magni needs to be brought in.
I would say, as far as like pretty much the last thing that I can think of is just overall being able to, I guess, actually experience World of Warcraft and then like jump into like a movie and see people play with it
Mhm.
is really exciting.
What they really like, I really hope that they continue it and they continue it with the Frozen Throne. I think the Frozen Throne would be a good second.
That's gonna hit a lot of money.
That would be so cool.
That'll hit a
Seeing
lot of
Arthas
money.
and just like bringing in the Paladins and Mal'Ganis and it would be awesome.
this guy's nerding out. I guess there's not too much. Everything they're talking about, you/me wouldn't get necessarily, but that's fine. I mean, again, they did an okay job. Bad.
Enclosed.
Oh,
environment.
yeah.
To expand upon that, you're right. Even when they were in the forest, right?
It's
It was
not-
surrounded, like there weren't big open clearings. It
Yeah.
was surrounded by
all
trees
of
and thick
all
brush.
of the locations felt like small set.
They were
pieces.
always in a room
Yes.
or like some sort of like
Like it was very
Yeah.
obvious that most of this was filmed in a studio.
yeah. They didn't really do wide open shots, which I mean, and that plays into the other thing. Some of the editing was really weird.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the shots they decided to use for some of the characters, I was like, hey, you could have done differently. I don't know what.
It bothered
some
me
of
that Lothar was running around at the end of the movie without shoes.
I was fine with that.
Like I don't know why it bothered me, but it really did.
One of the things you brought up was like not knowing who the people were, like their names.
Yeah, I even now,
And
like
it's true.
Duratan was the main orc guy who I remember. I don't remember
Gul'dan.
Gul'dan, whatever. There's that guy. There's the main knight guy.
Gideon.
Is his name Gideon?
Wait, Lothar.
No,
Is it Lothar?
it's Lothar.
Lothar was
And then the
dude.
king guy.
Lane, Sir Lane.
Yeah.
And his son, Anduin.
And then Lothar's son.
What? Okay, so Sir
Or-
Lane's
No, it was Varian.
yes, it's very. But Sir Lane's wife.
Yeah.
Is that not the girl from Shield?
It might be. I'm not positive.
I forgot to look that up. Anyway. Oh, also one thing I did want to bring up, like in the good portion, like that I really enjoyed was when Gul'dan was like leeching off of that nearly dead guy.
Yeah.
Like that looked really, really well done.
Excellent visuals. Yeah. No, it was really good. The scene was set really
Just
well too.
snacking
It
on
was. Yeah, it was funny. He would interrupt. Like he was talking to a guy and he would just be like, "Yeah, we needed. Hold on. All right, yeah, back to what I was saying. Yeah, it was just he's a magician, right? Not magician, mage.
He's a
demon,
warlock.
Yeah.
demon, so magic, lots of magic.
Um,
But back to the bat, they didn't make me care about
Yeah.
really anyone other than Duratan, unfortunately.
yeah, it's like when Garona was supposed to betray Sir Lane, and they make this huge thing, and you're just like, okay.
That makes sense. Like,
Do
wow,
it.
yeah, do it. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, do it. Yeah,
I didn't care about Sir Lane.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure that plays a big role in future games / movies, but
Well, Varian plays a big role because Varian and Thrall, the other baby character,
The children of the main characters.
the children of the main characters become the leaders of their respective races.
Yeah.
And so Varian becomes the king of Stormwind, and he ends up like. I don't know if they're going to go into it a whole lot, but in the comics, he gets like
Comics?
captured and thrown into the slave pits.
Comics?
Yeah, there's a whole line of World
Oh,
of
that's
Warcraft
right.
comics.
Games. Oh, sorry.
So he ends up meeting Thrall through the slave pits,
Yeah.
and that's where Thrall comes in because he gets picked up. Like they show it at the end of the movie, but he gets picked up by one of the slave masters, and he ends up fighting in the pits for a while before he escapes.
Gotcha.
Punches a bear.
Yeah, basically. And then and then Orgrim shows up and he's like, "Here, have my hammer."
Yeah, I didn't care about the son dying either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, he wasn't that great of an actor.
No, well, it was really telegraphed. Like
But-
the entire thing. was
Yeah,
like that.
he died, and I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Also, Verona like looking sad all the time was kind of getting annoying.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to see her not be sad.
I wanted her to be like badass assassin chick that
I
she is
know.
in the comics.
Yeah,
and
But
they
no-
didn't show that at all.
That's segue or a brief
That's-
pause back to the good thing. Man, they did a good job of separating the orcs and the humans as far as just their mannerisms and even fighting styles. I
Yeah.
really appreciated that. They could have easily just,
Copy pasta.
yeah, they could have just been like, oh, well, we're just going to take the fighting styles of the humans and put them onto the, like, no, they didn't. They had their own distinct kind of just,
Yeah.
And it makes sense with how huge they were.
Yeah,
right?
they wouldn't have the same finesse or
I
grace.
was really upset that they didn't use more dwarves, just because that first interaction they had with the dwarves in Iron
Was
Forge,
just a
the
throwaway.
dwarves looked so good.
They looked weird at first. It threw me off because
Yeah.
it just felt like their head was just like concaved in. But then I was like, I got used to it.
But they
so.
looked accurate to the dwarves in Warcraft.
They did.
So I was upset. Like, I didn't expect it.
I'm really scared to see gnomes.
Yeah.
Gnomes are basically like really like how the dwarves were small.
They're like
shorter.
They're like short dwarves.
Yeah,
Okay.
they look like babies.
What'd you
They
think?
should just cast Elijah Wood for all of them.
What'd you think of the other main quote unquote bad guy?
Gul'dan?
No, the other guy.
Oh,
Medivh.
Medivh?
Yeah.
I mean,
He wasn't really a bad guy. He just
I mean, it's mostly true to the lore, isn't
He-
it?
yeah,
he
yeah,
becomes
he-
twisted by fell energy.
yeah. He was a good guy, but then he got turned.
Yeah, he
basically.
wasn't bad at any point.
He did not great things.
I mean,
right, but that's
right.
because he got turned.
He didn't do
It's
them
not-
because he was a bad person.
it's
He
not
did
his
them
own
because
volition.
he
We're
was
gonna do this.
corrupted.
We're gonna do this Bucky thing again.
Well,
we
I
didn't
mean-
know he was. But no.
That's
no.
yeah. They didn't set him up like at all.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
if they had set him up better, you would have understood better by the time that they show him as being corrupted that that's not his character.
Yeah, definitely kind of just.
But
happens.
they start out the movie and he's already corrupted.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
And it's kind of weird to see him transform into like a semi dreadlord
Yeah.
type.
So like they
thing.
expect you to feel for this character that they didn't establish as being anything other than a secret bad guy.
Yeah, that. So I always said that most of the fight scenes themselves were pretty good. It's the fights that weren't like. I honestly think they could have done it better when magic was involved with the fights. For me, it was kind of a letdown, like personally, because
They didn't use it enough. Is what you're saying?
kind of they didn't use it enough, but they also didn't like the melee fights were really well done because you can choreograph those.
Well, the problem is
They
they
didn't-
didn't really use characters that were experienced with
users.
magic or magic users regularly in combat.
Gotcha.
Like Medivh isn't really a warrior,
Mhm.
and Khadgar they introduced as an apprentice mage,
Okay.
so he didn't really know what the hell he was doing.
Gotcha.
Right.
And maybe that's what played into it, but it kind of seemed like when they were fighting Medivh and doing they were fighting the gold, right?
The
gold?
Golem.
Oh, the golem.
Yeah,
The clay golem.
like a lot of that fight was just them kind of running around.
Off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they weren't like shooting bolts of whatever at each
Yeah,
other. Like
and-
fireballs.
And
stuff.
I know it's
Yeah,
it's
it wasn't-
magic. It's magic to be magic, right? Like you don't have to necessarily explain it. But he was doing things, and I was like, "What are you? Is this a reference?" To, like when he was
Yeah.
drawing the circle on the ground, he was like, "I don't."
That was the teleport thing.
But I didn't. Right, I didn't know that until
Oh.
it happened. Right, I didn't know
Okay.
there were things that they were just doing.
So it wasn't clear.
no, yeah,
Okay.
or like how he,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I could see that if you don't know anything about, any of the lore or anything. I could see it being. Again, they should have just made it 2 movies. The pacing should have been better.
Yeah,
It just,
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it did well enough. It just there were things about it from a moviegoer standpoint or an average moviegoer that and again that's why it was kind of negatively reviewed by a lot of people.
And that's fair. Like I could see that. Like if I didn't know anything about the lore, I would have been like, this is a mess.
Yeah, if you don't have any idea what's going on and you go in there, you're like, this is kind of fun to watch, but
Outside
I don't
of that,
know what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't care. Like
Like,
I know
nobody
it's-
other than Warcraft fans are going to pick up on the fact that was Draenei that were being captured and imprisoned and used to open the Dark Portal.
I mean, they might have said their name once or twice.
Nope, they didn't say it at all.
They just said slaves.
Yep.
But totally could have. I also, and again, the lore is already set, but some of the decisions with the not animation, but just the directing, I guess, right? Because we had the second portal bringing the orcs in, the big orc army, the horde or whatever.
Mhm.
I found it really dumb that as it was closing, the remaining civilians were just standing there watching it instead of jumping into the right. It was just dissipating. They're like, we're gonna stop though. I don't know, just things like that where
I could kind of see that happening. Some of them did try to jump through though.
yeah, just I'm nitpicking at this point. Unfortunately, a lot of the movie was just average.
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of just there.
Well, even as somebody who's played Warcraft and knows the lore, it's still average.
Yeah, like the main character Lothar wasn't particularly.
We didn't get to know him.
Interesting. Like
yeah,
he was just
there.
Generic
cocky
knight hero dude.
Yeah, he was the badass and he just knew everything and he could just beat anybody.
They should have had like Van Cleef show up in it or something.
But I mean, overall, a lot of it falls in the middle. Like I said, there's not too much terrible or even great.
No, it's just kind of there.
Gotcha.
But I'm hoping that the sequel will be better.
Because there will be a sequel.
Yeah, like it's done too well in China for them to not have a sequel at this point.
Yeah, it's sold really well overseas.
Right, but I feel like it may have maybe, if not the same, maybe smaller budget if they plan to do another one, because it did really bad here.
That wouldn't be too bad either, because if they do decide to do the Frozen Throne, most of that's focused around the humans. So it wouldn't be a huge deal if they cut the budget. They'll be able to cut the budget anyway because they won't have to have like this giant horde of orcs showing up.
I was gonna ask you, do you think they should not do the dual story anymore?
No, they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't.
They should have kept it
Lord of the Rings it and
yes.
just have all of the characters on screen they can use.
Yeah, and like that's what they should be doing with Warcraft anyway.
Because it's just as big.
Because the whole thing with Warcraft is like it's a constant war. The war has never ended.
It's like Star Wars.
So they can just take like little snippets of it at any point and do a story about it. They don't have to show the full thing.
Yeah.
And like the major players are going to change every time depending on what they're focusing on.
Like for you, do you think you would have maybe thematically, I should ask you, did you enjoy it? Like the world that it was set in. I'm talking about the world, not the characters. Like the world, the things that were happening in the world. Like people could use magic, how it was portrayed.
Despite wanting more, I enjoyed it. I mean, again, they didn't jump into too much of it, and I would have loved to see more because a lot of things you saw in this movie they haven't really done in a while. Was it high fantasy, right?
Right.
They haven't done a really in-depth fantasy movie in a while because it's not as.
It's because nothing will ever be Lord of the Rings.
Well,
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is so low. Yeah,
it has such a right. Like people think of magic and they think of like dragons or griffins or whatever.
Right.
And it's kind of like a turnoff for some people. Like when you bring it back, like Star Wars, right? Like it's kind of sci-fi, but not too much that you couldn't.
Sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah.
Man, even if it doesn't happen, how cool would it be if Deathwing showed up in one of the movies?
Jesus.
That'd be awesome.
Anyway.
Deathwing's awesome.
But I mean, I definitely would love to see more. Like I said, the over-the-top magic stuff, which I'm sure happens a lot in the game.
Okay.
Like it again, it was a great visual and it was a great change of pace from a lot of movies that are really set in realism or trying to be realistic.
That's ultimately what I enjoy more about Warcraft. Like, as far as fantasy goes, it is like super high fantasy. It doesn't try and be
dumb it down or
it doesn't try and be low key about it at all.
And the way that they portrayed it, it worked really well.
Yeah.
It looked really good.
I just want more of
character development.
Yeah.
And that's why they need to break it up. Is if they made us care about these characters more, we could have a really good franchise. People would enjoy it a lot.
Oh yeah, no, I think they'll improve over the second one. Blizzard's not one to not learn from their mistakes. I think.
No, Blizzard's pretty good about
taking their time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
look at Overwatch. Yay.
That's true. But all right, now we'll transition to something I can speak a little more to. TMNT,
Warcraft 2.
Out of the Shadows.
Out of the Shadows was interesting. So I went into the movie with super low expectations because TMNT was fucking terrible.
The animated film?
No. the first new live action movie.
Gotcha.
Was,
so this is what the fifth?
This is the
sixth.
This would be the.
They had three. The animated
sixth movie.
Sixth movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Sixth movie overall, not in continuation with the original four. But I mean,
But, like,
you went in with super low.
I
I went
went
in with
in-
average. I didn't.
So,
yeah,
like-
I didn't hate the first one. I didn't hate the first one.
I expected it to be terrible.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
I didn't expect anything
Sam?
good from it.
Your initial.
I went in not with any type of expectation,
Gotcha.
but I was hoping that it would be definitely better than the first one.
Yeah, which wasn't.
It's not.
Terrible.
It's not a bad movie. It's just if you're a fan, it's a bad movie.
It didn't really do anything for you.
Because they
It's not that
mess
it's a
with,
bad
they
movie.
mess
It's just that it's a bad movie.
because they mess with the lore. They don't make the connections they try to make don't make any sense.
And they focus too much on the people. Like,
Yeah.
The entire first movie focused more on April
Like
and Vernon
Vern
than it
and-
did
yeah.
anyone else.
Gotcha.
Whereas the second
Second one.
one focuses entirely on the turtles.
Yeah.
Not entirely on, but it shifts the focus primarily to them.
But no, I went with average expectations. I think it was good.
It was good.
I was
I was
surprised.
very surprised with how good it was.
Oh yeah.
I thought Bebop and Rocksteady were
Yeah,
really well
you know,
done.
they definitely kind of stole the show.
Yeah.
I would say they were the biggest improvement because the first one didn't do enough humor, which I know if you go back into the comics, right, that wasn't really a big thing. They tried to be really dark and kind of gritty, right?
Yeah,
The original comic.
they tried to do humor in the first one, but it was
A lot of it fell flat.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel it in the second one. Like I said,
Yeah, it was a lot more on point in this one.
they were a nice contrast to the seriousness that they brought to the first one with Shredder.
Right.
Like they were goofy. They were kind of wild, right?
They were brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were more of a cohesive unit.
I
in
meant
this
from
one.
Bebop. And,
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
That like having actual villains
Yeah.
worked out better, yes.
Yeah.
Because they
That's
didn't really introduce Shredder in the first movie as a villain.
He was just the
Like he was
looming
just a
bad
guy, and then he was like, "Here's this suit that makes me look like the Iron Throne." Rah!
yeah. But no, Bebop Rocksteady. The interactions with the turtles were really done well. I think, like again, they're brothers, and they.
I thought they did a really good job with the characters of Bebop and Rocksteady felt like they did back in the old cartoons.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they definitely draw more from the cartoons. Than
which
they did
is
the
fine.
comics.
It
Yeah.
makes more sense
Yeah.
because most people are more familiar with the cartoon than they are the comic book. And honestly, at this point, I'd prefer them to go off of the cartoon with the universe that they've set up.
I loved the visuals 99% of the entire movie. And we'll get into the part that I didn't like.
Okay.
But
Was
Well,
it Crane?
yeah,
Because
it-
I thought Crane was awesome.
for the most part, the visuals were really good. They improved upon the animation, the characters.
The turtles themselves actually looked
the
more
turtles
like
looked
turtles,
a little bit better than they did in
Yeah.
the last movie.
except for Michelangelo.
Yeah.
But that's different.
They took liberties with Casey. So
They
Casey's
took a
played
lot
by-
of liberties
Casey's
with
played by
Casey.
Stephen Amell.
We'll
But
talk
I'm-
about that.
I actually look. I'm a Stephen Amell fan. Like, I'm sorry.
That doesn't make Casey Jones a better character.
I think it works more for
It didn't work at all.
the time period they're set in.
I will agree with him that
You couldn't do OG Casey Jones in
Yeah.
2016.
You
Sure
can't.
you could.
It wouldn't work as well.
So they recently did a relaunch of the comics, like
Mhm.
5 years ago.
Gotcha.
But they reintroduced Casey Jones in that one again as well. It works out really well because they introduced both him and April as younger characters.
But is the comic more gritty?
Yes.
See,
So-
that's
well-
why. That's why, because in this movie, it's not. It's more about the fun aspect.
Right.
Mhm.
So that Casey Jones that they portrayed in the movie fit the tone of the movie.
Again, I'm not saying that I prefer it over the original.
just-
Casey
Yeah,
Jones,
I have problems with that Casey.
but I didn't hate it.
I hated the fact that he drove a Challenger for no reason other than product placement.
The fight scenes with Bebop and Rocksteady were really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed those.
I just, they played off of each other so well.
Yeah, they had a good chemistry on screen. I swear I've seen the actors before. I just don't remember
Probably
from
have.
what.
Yeah, it seems like they really kept the '80s feel, but updated it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you could see spray stuff was spray painted and
Mhm.
whatnot, and it still felt very '80s. Even Bebop's like mohawk and
Yeah.
the visor thing.
I like the. I feel like they had a lot of throwbacks to the toys growing
Yeah.
up too.
Yeah.
Right? They had
The manhole shooter.
The manhole shooter. Right, they drove a tank, right? Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
I swear they had a tank like
I
toy
am
thing.
90% certain
Yeah.
that they did.
It was cool to see those like throwbacks, like, hey, these are toys we made that we're probably making right now to sell to people, to little kids.
I had the pizza thrower. That thing was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was a pizza thrower. It didn't throw manhole cover.
But-
It threw pizzas.
'cause they
But it was
couldn't
the
throw-
same idea.
But no, the humor also I think hit home a lot. Like it didn't fall flat like the first one. I actually
Yeah.
laughed at a pretty good
Yeah.
amount of it.
Yeah.
Um,
I was also they did well on the characters because I actually felt invested
Yeah.
in the characters.
especially the brothers.
Yeah.
Splinter wasn't in it a lot, which I'm okay with because he like don't get me wrong.
I was upset that he didn't get his own fight scene because he had the best fight scene in the first movie.
Well, yeah, but I'm okay with him not being more in the like it. If they put him more in the movie, cool. I wasn't upset with him not being in the movie very much.
And that's where our problems with that first one because they don't like they try to make this Splinter Shredder thing like really like an old rivalry when they had no connection.
Yeah, they didn't
whatsoever,
really have
and
motivation.
They didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They didn't have much motivation.
So if they had kept that original plot, then
It would've
we
made
could
more
have
sense,
we
yeah.
could have more Splinter and have him fight Shredder more, and it would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely. What else? I saw a movie this
Crane?
morning.
Krang was really well done.
Wasn't he smaller in the cartoon? They made him really big in the.
Yeah, I think.
Well, they
his-
made his robot bigger too.
Yeah,
Like,
but
they
he
just
wasn't.
made him
He
larger.
wasn't stuffed into the thing like he was in the movie.
No, he was stuffed into it, and not to the same extent,
Oh, okay.
but he was still stuffed
Okay.
into it.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to remember from the.
I
cartoon.
liked the. I mean, the design for the robot has pretty much been the same.
Yeah, they didn't change it much, which is nice throwback.
But like in the new cartoon or the new comic, I really liked his design because like they introduced Krang as being a general from the negative zone or whatever it is. I forgot what they call it.
Question, and this is something I think of as an improvement. Wasn't Krang Shredder in the cartoon?
What? No.
What?
Uh-uh.
They were two entirely different characters.
Were they?
Yes.
They worked together.
They showed up all the time, and like Krang spent most of his time calling Shredder an idiot.
Okay. I don't know.
That was a regular thing in like
I don't
every
know.
episode.
I know. I don't remember. I swear there was something where he was in Shredder's. Well, anyways, I have to go back and research that.
That
I
never
just wanted-
happened.
If it was, I was happy with them making the change to kind of separate the two and make them their own distinct characters. Because again, Shredder's really serious and kind of grounded.
They
and-
made Krang a little bit more silly than he usually
Yeah,
is.
he wasn't, but
But
I didn't mind the
I'm
change.
fine
Yeah.
with it. It worked.
It really did. I didn't mind. Megan Fox was. I actually liked her in the movie.
Having Baxter Stockman in the movie,
Man,
so
I
that
can't
we
wait.
can set up
I
to
can't
have
wait for the
Baxter
next
come
one.
back with the Mousers.
Yes, dude. Oh man, I can't wait for that.
I want to see
He
the
was not
Mousers.
terrible.
I'm
Tyler
curious.
he was
Perry?
Tyler Perry. Yeah.
Tyler Perry was not terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't watch much Tyler Perry, but
I'm curious to see how they're going to design the Mousers for the movies. The Mousers were interesting.
I mean, doesn't he lose like parts of his body in the
He
cartoon?
becomes a giant fly.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's what I
you're
was-
not
yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, like he becomes like
He loses all parts of
cyborg
his
or whatever.
body.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
He gets infected with the mutagen and becomes a giant fly.
Sounds like he might try to inject himself
Yeah.
from this iteration.
Which is fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with
I mean,
sure.
he's a scientist character. That's what they do. They're like, I can
This
make
is
myself
human
better.
Or he'll get shot a lot, and then he has to like.
I can't
actually
go through
save
proper
himself.
protocols.
But overall, they didn't really focus on the Shredder because I think they didn't want to do another Shredder fight, right?
Well, they didn't focus on the Shredder because it didn't work very well in the first movie.
Gotcha.
But they redid him slightly in this one.
Mhm.
So they retooled him and he worked better in this one.
But I'm glad they didn't do another Shredder kind of big
Big-
conflict because
Well, they made
Kane.
him more like he was in the cartoons, where he didn't directly do a whole lot.
yeah.
Where he was just telling other people to do stuff, and he usually just was like, wow, Bebop and Rocksteady, you're fucking dumb.
Any more good before the bad?
The turtles themselves were really well done.
Yeah.
Just
The
they played off
interactions-
of each other well.
Yeah.
It felt more,
Like a Bond.
it felt more brotherly than it did in the first movie.
I-
And I appreciate that they didn't just rehash like Wrath and Leo having a giant fight again. Because that seems to be the focus on like every Turtles movie is Wrath and Leo never get
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
Oh, the scene in like South America, I think it was, where they were battling with the tank and
Mhm.
the whole airplane thing, as ridiculous and stupid as it is. I was actually really enjoying that scene.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
anything like them with
What would Vin Diesel do?
yeah. Yeah, they didn't really touch, but Raph has a fear of heights.
Yeah,
Yeah, I liked seeing
Yeah.
the character with the flaw.
yeah. It was entertaining.
Yeah, again, the jokes. Hey, man, that Vin Diesel thing, you're right. It was hilarious.
What would Vin Diesel do?
But the bad? Oh, wait, before that. I like they kept doing throwbacks. Turtle Power,
Yeah.
Cowabunga they did again. When they went into their shells, I laughed really hard. When they went off a waterfall and they were like screaming and they just popped. Oh man, I don't
They
know
did
why.
that at the beginning of the movie too,
Okay,
which you
Raph
didn't.
did.
Yeah,
yeah, that's just funny to me.
because like they're all jumping across the rooftops, and then Donnie's like, "Raph, do the thing." He's like, "I'm not doing the thing. I'm gonna keep bothering you about doing the thing until you do it."
I have to watch the first 5 minutes. I missed it. Bad though.
They get a pizza. And they're like, "Hey, thanks for delivering a pizza. Yay!"
It was very 90s turtle.
Yeah, it was very. It was a good throwback.
Um,
They
I'll
had
s-
the turtle or the Transformers cameo.
Really?
Yeah, like, did you not see that part?
Oh,
You missed that
You
part.
missed that part.
Yes,
There's because Mike goes up into the streets because it's Halloween,
Mhm.
and he runs into a guy that's dressed like Bumblebee,
Gotcha.
and so like he has like a little boombox that makes the sound effect whenever he stands up,
Uh-huh.
and they're talking to each other. I was just they're doing a crossover between Turtles and Transformers
And G.I.
at some
Joe.
point. That's probably going to get tied into
And
that
G.I.
as well.
Joe.
Yeah.
I need to see the new G.I. Joe one.
Did you not see the newest G.I. Joe?
I saw the first movie, not the
It's
second.
better than
movie.
the first one.
The second movie was really good.
But bad. I'll start with that 99% thing I was talking about. I didn't like the ending part where they were fighting Krang in the Technodrome.
Really?
Really?
Well, the visuals of it.
Really?
I thought it
The,
looked
the
fine.
CG was done really well up until they were put against the sky, like against the open kind of the sky. Like
Yeah.
it looked weird to me, and even when they were fighting Krang in the Technodrome, it made me think of. And the only reason I think of this is because we watched that video the other day. Spy Kids 3D. They didn't do it bad, but I feel during that fight they put a lot of 3D moments. Like some of the things that were happening on screen were very like, hey, if you're watching this in 3D, look at the 3D kind of thing. Because Krang was always out of his suit when they were fighting to show off his like depth, right? And the claw attacks that he was doing were very towards the screen kind of motions. And again, when they were put up against that much CG, like with the Technodrome, it looked weird to me.
So it was more of the in your face 3D aspect than the actual.
Kind of, because I'm sure the floating part, like the ship parts floating by, were a cool 3D effect, and it looked weird.
I mean, that's if you think cool 3D effects exist, or if you think 3D is a cool effect to begin with.
Yeah, look at Avatar. yeah. I went there. No, that part definitely, because the rest of it was done so well. I think.
Yeah, it was really
The
solid.
animation.
I would say Casey.
Casey
For
was
me.
by far the worst part of that
Like,
entire movie.
Maybe I'm biased because I like Steven
No, you're
Yeun.
entirely biased because
No,
you like it.
so I actually like the fact that he was trying to be a different character.
I didn't like.
No, hold up. I understand. I like the fact that he's trying to not be Arrow, right?
Yeah.
He wants to show us that he can play somebody different. But the character itself really bothered me because he's just like, hey guys, I just want to help. I want to help guys. Guys, I want to help.
He
guys.
felt like the kid from the second movie.
It was just
From
kind of.
Secret of the Ooze.
Oh, okay. I know you're
Yeah, it was just kind of
What was his
annoying.
name? Danny? Let's say it's Danny.
It was Danny.
Every random 90s movie character was Danny.
I wish they would have done more him and Raph. Because then
Well, they couldn't because he was a terrible character.
He wasn't.
He was so bad.
He was fine.
I really didn't like it. I didn't like the whole introduction of I want to be a detective. Casey Jones never wanted to be a fucking detective.
What else?
Frustrating.
Well, again, different time period. The old Casey didn't aspire to be anything.
He was still a kid. Not in the movie. I'm referring to the comics, not the movie.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about the movie.
Because in
cartoon.
the comics, he's like a kid in high school, and he's from an abusive family, and he doesn't want to be at home anymore, and that's why he's out fighting bad guys in the middle of the night.
Okay, fair enough.
Which makes more sense. It's like, you come from a broken home, you don't want to be home. I get that. That's fine.
I'm biased for Stephen Amell, unfortunately.
They
but-
didn't
Well,
set up.
no. See, I am fine with this Casey Jones in this universe.
But overall, like compared to the other.
Also,
to the other ones, I don't like
Okay,
this.
also,
fair
he's like, I want to be a detective. He doesn't do any detective work in the entire movie.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't.
He goes to the bar that Bebop and Rocksteady were at.
Oh, he assumed that two dumb criminals would go to the same place that they
I
hang
didn't
out
see
all the
any
time.
other cops there.
That's because everybody else was like, he saw giant turtles. Nobody believes you.
That's their fault.
Random thing. Did that bar look familiar to you?
Kinda.
Oh,
It was from Jessica Jones.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Oh, wow.
I was like, they've used this bar before.
Yeah, I was like, this looks
Luke,
super
Luke Cage's
familiar.
bar. Yeah,
Fair enough.
but
That would be
it was
why the
weird that they
bartender
had.
didn't look the
It was
same.
weird they had the insurance guy as the bartender. It was a really weird choice.
Insurance guy?
Yeah, Mayhem. This was protected from Mayhem, like me.
I don't know this character, so
Oh,
apparently
he's in
that's
a-
probably
he's in-
why I'm
he's in a
confused.
commercial.
At first, I thought you were going to
Oh.
say Jake from State Farm.
No,
That
guy.
guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought this was
Um,
like a.
I also didn't really care for.
April,
No, I liked April.
Vernon.
I mean, I'm glad they showed less of him.
I'm glad they showed
Yeah.
less of him because I really don't like Will Arnett. I don't find him amusing.
Gotcha.
He has one of those faces that I just want to punch.
Okay.
He has a very
I
punchable
mean,
face.
that was a line in the movie, right?
I think so.
Sure. I didn't like the possibility to be humans angle, personally. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been
that
like that is their social
I
conflict,
appreciated the
I think.
fact that they did something different because that's never really been a plot that they've tried to go with in the
Right.
series.
I didn't.
It seems like it could be a plot later. They
Yeah,
could
I just didn't like
explore.
that it was what their main kind of like
Conflict.
Yeah,
was.
well,
oh,
I
you-
didn't
you
really
lied
like
to me.
Leo's answer to it.
What?
Like, we could never tell them about this.
It's called compartmentalization. Yeah.
They made Leo out to be a giant dick.
Yeah, he was definitely less than favorable because he was,
And, like, even though he is the leader and he does have to step up and do things that the other ones don't like, he's typically not just, like, a dick for no reason.
yeah, it's usually a misguided kind of, intention. Like he ends up being mean or negative towards them because he thinks that it's what's best, not
Yeah.
just no, they can't have it.
So it'll probably be better in the next one, since that was, like, the big thing they were trying to overcome as a unit in this one, was Leonardo not being the best leader.
That and trust.
Yes.
I don't know, something like that.
Well, that was the whole issue, was that
Morals.
Leo didn't trust them.
Yeah. I was disappointed in the final fight scene, to be honest.
I was alright with it.
Like compared
I wanted
again, the Bebop Rocksteady fight that they had was great. I loved the choreography.
I think that
everything.
the fight scene with Bebop and Rocksteady and Casey could have done better.
Well, yeah.
That was
Well,
terrible.
I didn't mean the Casey one. I meant that.
The one in the
was
parking
terrible?
garage. Yes.
Seriously?
Like, the best part of that was whenever the grenade went off at the end, and then they were just like, my man.
I do find it weird that he duct taped rollerblades and found a hockey stick
That was
in
the
the
part
middle
that
of the White
bothered me.
House. I'm fine with that.
It bothered me so much.
But yeah, I mean, they didn't really do much. He kind of just led them.
I think maybe I'm just biased because I think that Casey Jones is a terrible character in the
Yeah,
movie.
you're biased at this
That's
point.
fine.
That's fine.
But the Krang fight didn't really do it for me because they just constantly got.
I think it was
thrown
better
around.
than the Shredder fight. They
Yeah,
had.
because- dude,
I
I wanted to see more of the fight because I appreciated that he Krang was getting all sorts of weapons and was like,
Yeah, it was
"Rrrr."
just being crazy.
It's like what I would imagine a giant robot would do.
Yeah.
I also don't really care that he came out of nowhere.
He came out of a portal.
No.
They teleported Shredder, and then it was like, "Oh, hey, I'm Krang," and Shredder was like,
Oh yeah.
"Oh yeah, I'll work for you." And
Yeah, that whole plot, that whole plot.
Yeah, that was
part
very shoehorned.
really just.
I'm Krang. Find these
It-
teleportation.
I think honestly, they
what?
could have made the movie work just as fine if they hadn't done that. And then
Yeah.
Krang just shows up at the end. He's
Yeah.
like, "What up, bitches?"
Yeah, no, that whole scene with Krang and Shredder felt like the intro to a video game,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
bad one at that.
Yeah.
My device came, but then in the atmosphere, it broke up into these conveniently okay pieces. Collect them all, and we can open a portal.
Yeah.
It was a bad video game intro scene.
We gotta get the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is to start the invasion. Yeah,
Shredder's like, okay.
Yeah, Shredder's like, oh, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
It would have been more interesting if they had just left that scene out
Mhm.
and then had but Baxter and Shredder doing that anyway because they were already working on the
Yeah.
portal technology. It's not like it would have been that big of a leap.
No.
And then they could have introduced Krang at the end. He's just like, "Who are you? Get out of here! I'm
it's-
the
he
real
could
bad
have froze
guy."
him and then put him away. He's like,
It's
Yeah.
one of those, like, they felt like they had to show them to us
Yeah,
because
they would have lost no plot points
Yeah, I don't
if
know
they
why.
took that scene out.
I think you're right.
I think you're right.
And it didn't, it made no sense. Why was he interrupted, or why was the portal intercepted by Krang? Why
Why
Yeah.
didn't Krang just take him?
why didn't Krang just
How did-
fix everything himself since he clearly can make a portal to the
How
other
did-
dimension?
How did he not die, though?
Dimension X, that's what it is.
How did he not die, too?
Who, Krang?
They made a big deal about, like, we're the only ones that can survive in that atmosphere up there by the thing.
Well, they
No,
were
he hadn't
referring to,
done
like...
that.
Not the first time.
Who?
No.
When he intercepted the teleportation, he was barefaced.
But-
Was he in the
yeah.
Technodrome? I don't think he was in the
He wasn't
Technodrome.
in the Technodrome at that point.
But still.
I mean, it's like... I'm not going to argue this because it was a terrible plot
It's
point
not
to begin
explained,
with.
yes. I will agree.
But, no, I mean, those are the bad.
Just
Just like Warcraft, a lot of it fell just... Well, not a lot. I honestly don't remember too much other than the parts we already talked about.
Warcraft, the problem with Warcraft was just that it was kind of there.
it needed to... It didn't spend enough... It didn't make you care about the characters.
Yeah.
Is its main problem. It was good if you're a Warcraft fan.
Warcraft had a good plot and weak characters.
Yes.
Ninja Turtles had good characters and a weak plot.
No, man.
That makes sense.
Well, the plot was pretty weak.
No, it's the best.
It was pretty
It's a
weak.
Michael Bay movie. Come on, man.
It's not a Michael
Best.
Bay. He
The
produced
best.
it. He's not
This-
directing it.
Wait. So did Krang... Since, all the
Was
Michael
Krang
Bay...
Michael Bay?
Since all the Michael Bay stuff's supposed to be in the same universe, right? Did Krang send the asteroid from, 1990 to Earth
That would be
Bruce
interesting.
Willis blew up?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Why not?
It makes sense, sure.
I'm kind of excited about the the Turtles Transformers crossover. I mean, I say that I'm kind of excited because it's probably the only way that I'm ever going to watch a Transformers film again.
Bumblebee spinoff.
Ugh.
Um,
Why is that happening? Let's give the one character that doesn't talk his own movie.
What? No.
Yeah.
We'll just see
Everybody
more of
wants,
that.
everybody wants a Half-Life movie.
No,
Nobody
we
wants
don't.
nobody wants a Half-Life movie.
No, we don't. We really don't.
I don't.
Because that makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
I
At
did
all.
it with Hardcore Henry.
At this point, I don't even want Half-Life 3 anymore.
Yeah. It's done. It's
I
over.
just want somebody to tell me what happened at the end. I don't want to actually play it.
Just some footnotes.
Here's a clip. Yeah.
Just let me know what happened to everyone at the end of episode 2. That's all I care about.
Seriously. Can't leave us on a cliffhanger.
That was a terrible cliffhanger. to
God
end it
damn.
on.
Anyway.
It was, but the Turtles definitely. You don't have to know. Well, I wouldn't say you don't have to know as much, but
you don't even need to watch the first movie to enjoy
the second one.
the second one because Brandon went in to see it and he didn't see the first movie and
But he
he
still
actually
enjoyed it.
he enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I
You
mean,
know, there's not a whole lot of carryover between the two.
Turtles
I mean,
has been way more mainstream than.
the only major
Warcraft.
carryover that they
Yeah.
have is the fact that Vernon took the credit for the Ninja Turtles for what they did in the first one, which you don't even need to know because
And
they
they-
explain it in the
they-
movie.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah. Make sure to shove it down your throat.
No, twice is good.
Shove it down your throat.
The best joke in that entire movie was when Will Arnett was blowing into the bags, and then April's like, "What are you doing?" Oh, well, people are what did you say? Something like,
Falcon breath.
"No, well, people would pay for my hot air."
Yeah.
Or whatever. I really appreciated that.
No, my favorite one was whenever they were watching the map,
Uh-huh.
and then and then Michelangelo was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh, they're flying. Good for them."
No, it was.
It's like, no, they're on a plane.
Oh.
Yeah. Despite specifics, they had a lot of fun.
That was, the good for them moments were probably my favorite. Like whenever they're in the airplane, and then he's like, "Bringing the mohawk back. Good for you."
No, it's despite your disdain for Casey Jones' portrayal and Megan Fox, who
Megan Fox was fine in the role. I didn't have a problem with Megan Fox in this movie. In the first movie, I had a problem with her because she was way too upfront as the primary focus of the film. She's like,
but she created them.
Fucking-
She named them, created them.
I mean, that part I'm okay with
Yeah.
because that's the origin that they went with in the last movie was very close to the origin in the new comics.
I mean,
But it doesn't make that whole Shredder. It's a different conversation.
yeah. Overall, though,
But I think that one thing that both of the movies did really well is they appeal to the fan base.
yeah,
I think,
no.
I don't think anybody would really argue that.
Yeah,
both of them-
if you were to get a fan of either one of those to say, hey,
How did you feel about it?
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah,
I was
pretty well considering.
Yeah,
it's
like if I were to
Hollywood
rate the
recently.
Ninja Turtles movies, this would probably be like number 3 on my list.
Well, remember, and this was a movie that when the first one was announced, everyone was just like, it's going to be terrible. Michael Bay's attached to it. It's just going to be the worst thing
Yeah.
ever.
Well, when
And-
they originally said it was going to be aliens.
Teenage Mutant.
Yeah, Alien Turtles.
Yeah.
Taint.
Teenage Alien Ninja Turtles.
Taint.
God damn it.
And that's what I'm saying, right? Though he definitely surprised everyone with these two movies. Because the first one wasn't.
Michael Bay didn't do them.
But he was attached to
He's
them.
producer on them. He did not direct or write either.
But that's what I'm saying. Even as producer, even if you knew, oh, well, as producer, everyone saw his name on it and was like, just wrote it off.
Yes.
They're like, it's just going to be terrible. Why are they do this?
It's another Transformers movie.
So
I think that was an unfair argument that everybody had against it. Was the fact that Michael Bay didn't have anything to do with it.
kind of like
As
Ben
far
Affleck
as the
or
actual
Heath
creative
Ledger,
process,
you know what I mean?
he didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
He was just kind of there funneling money
Sure.
and being like, change this.
So,
edit that.
I guess jumping into the end here, because I feel like we've talked about literally everything.
Yeah.
What would you rate both of the movies, 1 out of 10, as far as enjoyment?
Warcraft for me, just not knowing the lore and not having the background knowledge, just from a movie standpoint, 5.5 out of 10.
Sorry.
Like better than it wasn't bad by any means, and the stuff I enjoyed, the visuals, the music, the orcs, did really well. It was just a lot of it went over my head, and I couldn't enjoy it as much as you guys probably could have because it just
You don't know anything
I could
about it.
I couldn't see anything about it. I mean, I think it might be worth a rental when it comes out.
Yeah.
Like just rent it, Redbox, watch it, and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I enjoyed most of it.
When you want to watch high fantasy.
Yeah.
When I want to watch high fantasy, I won't watch Lord of the Rings. I'll watch Warcraft. And you know why I'll watch Warcraft over Lord of the Rings? Because Lord of the Rings is a whole lot of walking and boring.
And TMNT?
TMNT, 7.5.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be
mean-
higher.
No, there are movies I really love that get closer to like 10. I'd definitely watch TMNT again. I would definitely watch it again. I'd go potentially even buy it and add it. Probably not the first one ever,
No.
but I definitely think it's worth a buy. I think you should, if you get a chance to see it in theaters, which unfortunately
It's moving
it's
out.
pretty sparse throughout it. But
Everyone's got to make room for Dory.
yes, but it's
That's
worth
fair,
it.
yeah.
I think a 7 or a 7.5 is a pretty good spot up there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got a little bit of something for everybody, everything. Sure, Ryan, go.
I'd give Warcraft like a solid 7.
Wow.
Really? That's
Yeah.
way higher than I thought.
Not because I think that it's mainly because I think that it does a good job of setting up for the future. But it's also because I personally really like Duratan. Duratan's always been one of my favorite characters in
Okay.
Warcraft lore.
So you felt like he was
So
represented really
I thought that Duratan was like the only character that was represented well.
That's true. You
And-
actually feel something more for Duratan than
So,
anything.
like, by the end of the movie, when Duratan's about to die, spoiler alert, Duratan dies. But, like,
It was a really good scene.
yeah, it was really well done. You felt for that character at that
Yeah.
point. But, I mean, knowing what I didn't know about the lore, I knew that was where it was going to end up inevitably.
Yeah.
But he's always been an interesting character to me. I thought that he does a good job of balancing out the orcs, because he shows a more human side to them.
Gotcha.
And so
And Gul'dan is
it's mainly the fact that the orc storyline is really well done is what boosts it up in my opinion, because everything else is kind of meh, just middle of the road.
Wow, that's true.
If anyone ever does an edit of just the orc part of the movie, then yeah, maybe go watch that.
Yeah, just call it The Road to Duratan. You can call it Spinal Tap.
And TMNT?
TMNT I'd give 7.5, 8. I really
Really?
liked it. I liked it a lot. Like I expected it to be just as bad as the last one, and it impressed me on every front.
I'm really surprised that you rated both of them so closely together.
I mean they're both kind of the same in my opinion,
I
as far as what they represent to the fan base.
That's true.
I think that I give TMNT a little bit of a better rating because I think that overall it was a better film.
Yeah, it was.
And Sam.
Warcraft would be a 5
Gotcha.
because, as far as like a video game adaptation, it actually serves really well. But as a movie, it's poorly put together.
Gotcha.
And then TMNT, I would say an 8.
Oh,
I wasn't expecting to have so much fun in a fucking movie
Gotcha.
in a long
Especially that
time.
one.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
that one. Like,
I went to, like I said,
seeing all the colors, like there were actually colors. And,
I went
and
into
things
that
happening.
movie-
It was just.
zero expectation. I expected nothing good.
Well, yeah. They,
Well,
like I said,
less than zero
they
expectation.
doubled down on the humor that the show provided, and it worked for them.
I feel
Yeah.
like somebody was like, we should go back and check out the source material.
What? No one ever does that, Zack
It's-
Snyder.
Bryan Singer.
But no, I think they're both. Man, I missed saying this about Warcraft. Why did she not let Goldar, Dan, whatever, go fight the dude?
Durotan?
No, Lothar. Right, because Lothar kills Blackbeard, Blackhand.
He killed, Black Hand.
Okay, pirate. Kills him, and they're like, oh well, he won the whatever challenge. The
So he's gonna
Agni
kill. Oh, you're
Eye.
talking about Lane, Sir Lane.
Is it Lane? No.
No, it was Lothar at the end.
Lothar killed
Lothar kills
Blackhand,
Black Hand.
and
Oh, right.
And then Gul'dan's like, oh my god, I'm gonna kill you.
and they're like,
And then
what's her
Garona's
name?
like, no, don't do that.
Corona.
Yeah, Gron was like, no, don't do that. It'll turn everyone against you. Why would you not egg that on? Like, why would you not be
Because-
like, man, I heard you was talking shit about you and your mama.
Because she's actively, like, they don't really portray it really well, but she's
they don't.
trying really hard to keep both sides from fighting.
To
Yeah, they
stop,
could
Like,
stop
they're
the
trying to
war.
stop the conflict entirely.
She could have let him go, try to fight him.
If she
The
had done,
other orcs would have been like, "Oh, you're breaking our customs. Now you die."
but
and
they
then that
wouldn't
would've been
have.
it.
That's the thing, is they wouldn't
But-
have, because they already showed it earlier in the film. Because they were like, we're not gonna do this, and
They
they just
weren't all
started killing him, and
green.
it
They
was like,
weren't all
oh, we're
green.
gonna go do that now.
They weren't all green though.
They weren't. Well, no, but the Frostwolves are the only ones that weren't green.
No, there were other non-green ones.
Not with them. The Frostwolf tribe was the only one that hadn't turned to the Fel energy yet.
Right.
Like that was the whole plot point with Orgrim and Durotan.
Okay, well then you still go fight him, and if he kills all of you, there goes his army.
The Frostwolves don't make up a large portion of its army.
The green ones, the ones that are corrupted by the Fel.
Yeah, they're not gonna fight against Gul'dan because he's the one that gave them their power.
They were about to.
They wouldn't have.
They turned. They dropped their weapons and walked off, and then Gul'dan's like, "No,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
food."
No.
Yeah, then he started killing them, and then they were like, "Oh well, we're gonna pick up our weapons and fight."
That was earlier. But either way,
That's what I'm saying. Is like they had already established that this is what would happen: is they would turn against him, he would kill them, and they would stop turning against them.
That's so.
And eventually, he would just kill all. Like the Dark Portal ends up getting opened anyway. He's gonna get the rest
Wow.
of his army.
Thanks. I was here suspended in mystery about what was going to happen.
Well, I mean, like, where do you think that Gul'dan got his power? And he didn't just find it; somebody gave it to him. He's working for, who was it? I think it's Kil'jaeden.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Killed Jaden.
it's a demon we haven't seen.
it's
That is,
Men?
that is an action and a person. Okay? That is an action and a person.
but yeah, Kil'jaeden and
Where
well,
does Archimon
that
come
name,
in?
though.
Archimon.
where does he come in?
Because I know he does the
From
whole
Pallet
War of the Ancients, where he takes the world tree.
Yeah,
Which would be fucking awesome to see.
that would be really cool.
Pokemon.
Pokemans. Anyway,
But, yeah, that's really about it for those two.
Yeah.
Two movies that were really
It's like-
had a really far-reaching fan base, and
Yeah.
they've been around for, 20 years, probably?
at least.
Both of them? Comic form and then
At
just the games themselves.
least. 'Cause
Yeah,
the games came out in the 90s, early 90s.
Yeah, so I would say about 20 years, almost 2 decades of fans to...
they missed an opportunity for a Lost Vikings Easter egg. Like just
Yeah.
3 Vikings
Yeah, they
wandering
could
through
have
the
just
forest.
walking right by.
Yep.
Do you think? I guess closing thoughts. Do you think Warcraft will set a new tone for video game movies?
No, not at all.
No.
No.
I mean, it made more money than any other video.
Oh
game
yeah, it
movie.
did
Right,
great.
not
But
domestically.
it's not. It
Not-
didn't do enough domestically. Plus the fact that no studio really cares about video game movies yet.
It's
The only reason this movie did as well as it did is because Blizzard was watching over it the entire time.
well
They were overwatching it.
well, no. If the movie actually did really well domestically, I really do think that studios would probably maybe try a little bit harder. But
It's
because
gonna
it
be-
didn't do that well here,
Do you
they're
think it
not
had
gonna-
anything to do with the fact that it was high fantasy?
No, I think it had the
Because-
fact to do that it was not as well directed or fleshed out as it could have been.
Because and the reason I ask this is because Assassin's Creed is coming out.
Because the
Which
shortcomings that it has are really the same shortcomings that I think Pacific Rim had. The characters and the
None.
plot are kind of weak,
None,
but
no shortcomings.
people in China love it.
I love it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, Pacific Rim was great. I love
it
Pacific
was.
Rim.
It was.
but
And Pacific Rim 2 is going to happen. So
I ask it because
that's
like
another.
I said, Assassin's Creed's the next big.
It's going to be bad.
I'm holding out that it'd actually be good
I
You
would-
shouldn't
I
hold out
would-
for that.
As someone who
Because I
hasn't
hate the games.
That doesn't mean anything. I hate the games, and it's still going to be bad.
We'll see.
let's see.
But definitely going to be more TMNT movies. You know what? And for all of the
Out of
started
the
started out as a toy and became a movies. So Transformers, GI Joe, and now this one. I think it's done better than.
Turtles
I think
didn't start out as a toy though. The Ninja Turtles comics existed before the toys did,
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's true.
and I think the movie was in production before the cartoon existed.
was it?
Fairly certain.
I'd have to go check.
I'm not gonna like stake my life on that.
Gotcha. Well, I guess let me change. my
But no,
statement.
I get what you're saying.
In the vein of like, this was a really popular toy.
It was
let's
another
try to
thing that was
capitalize
held
on it.
on that Mattel held on to. Like they pushed it heavily because they had a toy
See,
line.
See, this movie, to bring this up, this is like afterthoughts apparently.
Yeah.
This movie shows how Jim could have been awesome. I'm sorry this comes out of nowhere, but Jesus fucking
I mean,
Christ.
it doesn't come out of nowhere. This is what I was expecting you to bring up.
Motherfucking bullshit. You could have, like, this whole, like, pseudo 80s type of thing. Could have done it.
Instead,
But
they
no.
did like this weird YouTube bullshit.
Yes! It's just.
I have no idea.
Gem is outrageous. That's really all you need to know.
Jim Butcher.
No, Gem. Jem.
It doesn't matter.
Gem is outrageous.
JDM. Music?
Truly.
Oh, I'll have to
Truly
figure out
outrageous.
whatever the hell you're talking about. But no, I think yeah, it did well for a toy line that marketed to kids. But that's really it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. All right.
It's over.
Hopefully next one will be I don't know on something.
else. You'll have to stay tuned to find out.
Bye.
Bye.